Hi, my name is Gabby. I'm an English SGI teacher at Moreno Valley. I'm the leader of your cohort, so hopefully you've already spoken to me or you know me in some way. This video is for help on how to write an essay, so if you're struggling with introductions, body, paragraphs, conclusions, MLA citation, quotations, any of that kind of stuff, this is where I can help. Okay? So, this is where you'll find the link to the video. I know I had a link for guided notes for the MLA formatting, but I cannot find them, so I might add a link there if I can find it. If not, maybe I'll make a new one. I don't know, we'll see. How to write an intro paragraph. So let's start at the very beginning. How to write an essay for the introduction. This is a video on how to do it, but I'm going to go over it too. So if you want to watch the video, the link is in this PowerPoint. If not, totally fine. We'll go over all the same stuff anyways. So why are introductions important? Think about it for a second. Why is an introduction important? Number one, because they catch the reader's interest. If you're not interested from the beginning, you're not going to be interested for the rest of it, right? It's like when you try to start a new show and the first episode is horrible and then you're just kind of like, I'm spoiled. I never want to watch it again. That's what a bad introduction does. It also sets the tone for your paper. So if I am going to read a paper and I want it to be academic, I want it to be serious, I want it to be very informative, it has to have that kind of a tone. If I'm looking for something entertaining and silly and fun, it should have that kind of a tone. Whatever you want to continue with for the rest of the paper, that's the tone you're setting in your introduction. If you have an introduction that's fun and silly and then the rest of the paper is super academic, it's misleading. Nobody's going to want to continue. It also kind of sets an outline for your paper. So I know you guys have probably heard of a thesis. Hopefully, fingers crossed. A thesis really sets the outline for the paper. It's not a whole paper though. Lots of people try to shove everything into the introduction, and you got to be really careful to just provide an outline and not the whole paper, not all of the specifics. So what are the parts of an introduction? There's the hook, sometimes called the grabber. There's background information, and then there's the thesis, topic, main point, right? So your thesis is the main argument. It's the biggest thing you're trying to do. If you don't have a thesis, a lot of teachers will just fail you outright. But as long as your paper all goes along the same lines, that's really what's most important. But a thesis shows you that you're going to be doing that. It shows that it's intentional. It shows that you started with this main point and you finished with this main point, instead of you kind of find your way along the way, which is more of a brainstorm than an essay. So first part, hook. So a hook could be a joke, it could be a proverb or a quote, and if you don't know what a proverb is, here's an example. A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. Are worth, not with, I will fix that. But that's a proverb. It's just kind of one of those sayings that we know what it means. It doesn't exactly correlate with anything, but we know what it means. Not an idiom exactly, but close. A short story or an anecdote. This one is my favorite because it gets me to lengthen my introduction, which lengthens my paper without having to research extra or really it's the funnest part because it's a short story. It's something I get to write, I get to be creative, I get to have fun with, instead of trying to find quotes and explain them and relate them back to my thesis and all that kind of stuff. Way more fun to write a short story. A surprising fact, so over 100 million people are doing this thing kind of thing. But it has to relate, should still relate. Curiosity or questions. So, have you ever experienced this? Have you ever done this? What have you thought about this? Type of thing. These are the ones students always try to go towards. However, honestly, they're one of the most predictable ones. And so you want to try to stay away from those, honestly. If you don't have these things, it's not going to catch the reader's interest, and then they're not going to want to read it. Think about any teacher that you have. Think about how many essays they probably read in a day. Think about how excited they're going to be to read your paper if it starts with the same question that every other kid's paper starts with. If you start with something that surprises them, or if you start with a cool short story or something, it'll make the teacher in a better mood, and then you'll maybe get a better grade. Can't hurt. Next is the background. So this is where students struggle a lot of the times. Instead of doing background, they do their whole essay, or they do way too specifics of a background. So you want to research your subject a little bit. If you're writing like a research paper, this is where you tell me what it is. So I've had a student wrote a research paper on climate change. In her background, she just kind of tells me what climate change is, the ideas behind climate change, where we're struggling with it. It's the who, what, where, when, why type of background. If you're writing on a story and like a theme or something like that, summarize the piece. That's all you have to do here. Provide some background though on the subject. Always write your papers as if the person reading it knows nothing. I tell my kids all the time, write it as if you think I'm as dumb as a stump, because I need you to explain and over-explain and over-explain, because if you do that, if you prove to me how much you know, then I'm a lot less likely to give you a bad grade because you're showing off your knowledge. So if you want to prove that you know what you're talking about, build that ethos, build that credibility, show me that you know this. Show me that I should trust you with this. And tell me what I need to know in order to understand the paper. I had another student write a research essay about cars and torque. It might be a simple concept to people who love cars. I don't know torque. So you gotta be really specific with these things. And then lastly, your thesis statement. In the general like cookie cutter type of essay, thesis statement goes as the last sentence of your introduction. It really provides a great transition to go from one thing to another. So it's a great place for it. If you are struggling as a writer, I always suggest putting your thesis statement there, because that helps me identify it and know for sure that you have a thesis statement. And again, a lot of the rubrics ask for a thesis statement specifically, and if you don't have one, sometimes your paper isn't passing. So make sure that you put a thesis statement at the last sentence of your first paragraph, so I know that you did do it. This is a YouTube video. Again, the link will be in the PowerPoint, so go ahead, watch that, and click it, and we're going to talk a little bit more about it right here. It tells what the essay is about. It gives that like bare bones outline that I was talking about earlier. So first things first, it provides the topic. So what is it you're writing about? Next, it has the claim. What is it that you're trying to prove? What is it that you're trying to say? What is it that you're trying to show? And then next, in a traditional 5-paragraph cookie cutter type of essay, you get your 3 main points of the paper. These are optional. If you are going to be writing a 16-page paper, typically you don't see those 3 main points, you just see the topic and the claim. That's because they can't put all 16 main points in there. If there's huge overlapping ones, maybe they will, but it's more of a rarity. I suggest having at least 3 main points. That way it helps you organize better, and then if you need to lengthen your paper, have 2 paragraphs on topic 1, 2 paragraphs on topic 2, 2 paragraphs on topic 3, and that will help you lengthen your paper a little bit. It needs to be clear and specific. If I don't understand your thesis statement, I probably won't understand your essay. If you need help with your thesis statement, what can you do? Email me, text me, call me, let me know you're struggling, and I can help you write your thesis statement. I can help you do your outline. I can help you with almost any part of this process. This video is the first step to me helping you. So next is when I would typically do an example with you guys. I know this is probably in the way here, but this is like the magic thesis statement. So by looking at this book, right, one can see and then the theme or whatever, and then which is important because this, and this. So that's a good sentence frame to kind of help you do it. So like they have examples down here. By looking at the Memoir Night by Elie Wiesel, one can see through the author's use of imagery and symbolism how the process of dehumanization can steal a person's identity and sense of self and humanity, which is important because identity is the source of decency and hope. So you know that their book or paper is going to be looking at that book, looking at how dehumanization steals identity, self, and humanity through the imagery and symbolism of the book. So that's kind of what it would look like. With one of my classes, we did an example one. They really love Spider-Man, so this is what our paper was about, Spider-Man. Our hook was, "With great power comes great responsibility, Benjamin Parker." Our background was, Spider-Man is a teenage vigilante, I might have spelled that wrong, by the name of Peter Parker, who was bitten by a radioactive spider at the age of 15. After causing the death of his uncle, he became a beacon of heroism. This influenced many movies to follow. Spider-Man was best portrayed by Andrew Garfield because of his demeanor being more comic accurate, flexible, and not revenge focused. Not the best introduction, but it gets the job done. We have our hook. We explain who Spider-Man is, even though most people know who Spider-Man is. Told you, explain it as if these people know nothing. And then we have the topic, right? The claim. So topic, Spider-Man. Claim, best played by Andrew Garfield. And then our three main points. So he's more comic accurate, he's more flexible, and he's more not revenge focused. So that's an example of an introduction. Next, we look at body paragraphs. So how to write body paragraphs. The body is honestly the most important part of the paper because it gives you all of the actual important information. It's the meat of the paper, it's the largest section of writing, and it contains quotes, analysis, transitions, citations, main ideas, support, and concluding sentences. There's a lot that goes into the body paragraphs. So let's look at them more specifically. Number one, topic sentence, right? You guys have been learning about this forever. They introduce one of the ideas that support the thesis statement. So if I were to take that one that we just did, right? We would then look at the being more comic accurate. That's one of the parts of the thesis statement that now would be transformed into the topic sentence. It does not give specific information, not in the topic sentence. It provides a transition from one paragraph to another, and that's why having that thesis at the end of the introduction ends up making a really good transition into the topic sentence for the next paragraph. Next would be support. Support is typically a quote or a paraphrase. We're going to go over a little bit later how to integrate quotes in a correctly formatted paper, but just at the very least, after writing a quote, put in parentheses author's name and page number. And next, after that would be the analysis. For every line of quote, you should have 3 lines of analysis. So you want to make your quotes as short as possible and your analysis as long as possible. Your paper should be mostly analysis. So if I have a quote that's 2 lines long, that means I have to have 6 lines of analysis. Everything should always relate back to the thesis statement. Your analysis should always tie back to what your main argument, your main point is. And then you finish with your concluding sentence in a body paragraph. You want to make direct correlations back to your thesis statement. I don't care if you guys are sounding repetitive right now. That doesn't matter. What matters is you're making your point and I know clearly what you're trying to say. And then it will be the door to the next topic. So kind of open it up to new conversation and then close it there.